Hello everybody, it's me again, and I'm going to talk about uh, my pandemic build. Um, so I know the price of guns and ammo, if you can even find them, has gone through the roof. And so a while ago, like a month ago or so, decided to try to see if I could find a way to build something that I've wanted for a while, which is a piston-driven AR, to build it without breaking the bank. So, um, not easy in this climate with everything as it is, but I did it and I want to show you guys. So without further ado, let's look at the gun. All right, so what I have here is not your typical AR, obviously. So I started and I went to my local gun shop just on the off chance that maybe they had an Anderson or something in the case that maybe they hadn't sold yet. Not really hoping, but what they had was a whole bunch of Spikes tactical lowers. And this is the only one that they had that didn't either have the Snowflake Unicorn or the Thin Blue Line. I didn't want either of those. This is the Pipe Hitters Union, which I had to look that up. I did not know what that was, but the logo's cool. And this one was right at $100 for the lower. So pre-plandemic pricing. So I was happy to get that. Next, I got a lower parts kit from the same gun store. They had a Double Star. They're a Double Star dealer. Double Star is made in Winchester, Kentucky, which is very close to me. So supporting Kentucky business, which is good. So they had a lower parts kit. So I used some of that, the pins and springs and, you know, little parts in the lower. So I got that built. The grip is a Bravo Company Mod Zero, which I like. I prefer that grip angle versus the standard traditional one. So I was glad they had one of those. And the part that I wasn't sure about was this. This is the Ace Limited, made by Double Star, rifle length, M4S long stock. And the reason I got this was they didn't have any carbine length buffer tubes. They didn't have any carbine springs. They had a few carbine H3 buffers, but that was it. So it was slim pickings on this. So they had a couple of these, so not cheap, but you know, I thought I'd give it a try. It is very well built. A couple caveats on this one. It comes with the tube. It comes with the actual stock. It comes with the buffer, which is a rifle buffer, 5.2 ounce, so a little heavier, and a rifle length spring, this backing plate, and castle nut. Caveat being, this tube and castle nut are not the standard size for your regular carbine length AR. So what I needed to do, and I had before, a long time ago, I bought one of these Magpul wrenches because I thought, oh, Magpuls are good, and I'll do that. Well, they have an enclosed castle nut part, and it wouldn't fit. So what I had to do is I had to grind that off so I could have an open castle nut wrench, because guess who doesn't have any castle nut wrenches anywhere where I'm at? Every gun store that I looked. So didn't want to order something off Amazon, whatever, so I just cut this down so I figured I could use it, and it works. So I got that castle nut on. There's no way to stake that castle nut on there. So I just put blue Loctite, and it seems to be holding pretty well. This foam piece was already on here, so I didn't take it off or move it or anything. This butt plate is aluminum. It's kind of cool. It has this strike face down here is what they call it. And then your shoulder pad is rubber. You can either have it on or take it off. Sling attachments, and you push this button, and it's hard to do one-handed, but it is adjustable. It slides back and forth for adjustable for length. So that is the lower. Got that built. And back during Labor Day, Atlantic Firearms was having a sale on these Wolf A1 uppers. And I've been wanting one for a while. So I went ahead, they had them in stock. I said, sure, I'll take one. So this is made in Taiwan. It is a piston-driven system, 16-inch barrel, proprietary flash hider, It is clocked so that the gases vent to the 2 o'clock. So it kind of acts as a muzzle brake too. This is the front gas block. It has this sling hole loop. There's the end of your piston. It has a fixed front sight. You can remove it with this pin and take it off, or if you want, but I don't. Eventually, I also wanted to get an A3 carry handle, but I can't seem to get one of those either. This rail came from T91 Tactical. It was a blemish, and I think that little white dot right there, it's barely visible, was the blemish, because, man, I couldn't find one. So that's that. That's why I mounted my light. Had the light already. All right, so that's that. We'll talk more about this upper in a minute. And then, of course, on top, until my carry handle gets here, this is an primary arms 1:6 ACSS reticle low power variable optic, and it's in a Midwest Industries quick detach mount, and I had that already too. So yeah, so overall I'm right at $1,000 in this build. It's like I said, it's a piston gun, so it's probably a little bit more than I would have paid pre-plandemic, but I was pleasantly surprised because it's lower. I guess I've seen them for $200-300, and I wasn't going to pay that. And I got this one for the pre-COVID price, so I was pretty happy. The last little thing that makes me happy is this. This is the Franklin Armory BFS3 binary trigger. So, very cool. I have one of these in one of my other guns. I don't have the straight. I wanted the straight, so it's neat. The only problem I had with this one was installing it. It wouldn't go into binary mode, and I'll go into that in a minute too when I show you what the things I had to alter a little bit to make it work, but it works fine now. All right, let's take a look. All right, first thing I want to show you is this upper is a little different than a standard one. There is no brass deflector, and there is no forward assist. This raised little ridge here acts as your brass deflector. You can see it's got a little mark right there because I put 200 rounds through it today just to test it. Nothing scratched here, and it shoots brass at about the 4 o'clock position, so right behind you. All right, it does have a flat top Picatinny rail upper, standard charging handle, older style dust cover door, proprietary handguard, which is polymer, has vent holes for heat and gas. They get warm, but they don't get terribly warm. And then up here we have your piston and birdcage. All right, so I got the guts out. So this is the bolt carrier group. It is very M16-like in that it's pretty much an M16 bolt carrier group, with the exception of a 7 gas key. You have a strike face there for the tap it to hit it. It's a short stroke piston, so it hits it, pushes it back, and then goes back in place. The bolt itself is exactly the same as an AR15 bolt, with the exception of it does not have gas rings. It just has, well, you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it in there or not, but you really can't. But instead of gas rings back there, it's just solid metal. Disassembles exactly the same, firing pin's the same as your standard. So if you needed to in a pinch, that's something happened to this bolt, you can put a standard AR-15 bolt in there and it will work. So this is a standard AR-15 charging handle, just a run-of-the-mill one. But what I want to show you is, I haven't cleaned this gun since I shot it. I put 200 rounds through it today, and this bolt is as clean pretty much as it was when I went. Still well lubricated. I don't see any fouling on it. I mean, it's pretty clean. The crud is all right here. So this is the piston system. So the gas goes in, and I'll take this apart here in a second and show you all the pieces to it. And that's where it goes. To get it out, this turns. You push it in and you turn it 180 degrees, and then you can rotate the piston 180 degrees and it just slides right out. It all stays together in this sleeve so you can clean it in the field without losing all the parts, and put it back in. And this is the tappet part that strikes the face. All right, I got this bolt apart. I just want to show you how clean it is. So this is not chrome lined like a normal one would be, but that's pretty much the only difference between that and a standard carrier. Your pin is similar. That hole looks a little bigger, but I don't know. But look at the fire pin. Normally these things are pretty gunky, and that is just the oil I put on it. So it is clean. I haven't cleaned this yet. Just clean is clean. Same with the bolt. A little bit of brass stuff up here. Just the oil residue. And you can see where your gas rings would be, but aren't. So yeah, pretty standard. And very clean. So like I said, this 200 rounds. A direct impingement would be considerably dirtier than that by now. It was also very clean in here. So there you go. A lot of things I want to show you. There are no what do you call those things? Ribs, I guess, whatever, for the forward assist because it doesn't have one. And the little ledges, whatever they put down here for it to ride, aren't there either. So there's a couple minor differences, but that, of course, the strike face, and I don't know if that's just milled that way or welded that way. I think it's milled, just milled that way. And it's just a strike face. You can see where it hit. Yeah. All right, cool. Okay, here is the sleeve off the piston, and it just basically is a little pin right here. It rides in that groove, and you just take it right off. So this piston itself is the rod itself is tapered, so you have several little parts here. You have this little guide piece here. It's flat on one end that goes back into here and fits in one way so that it stays. There's your tappet right here. That's what hits the strike face. You have a very heavy spring. Spacer, it's hard to do through the phone camera. And then there's another big spring here, recoil spring, buffer spring, whatever. And you'll see that the piston rod itself is tapered, so this really only goes one way. The piston head itself has got a pivot point in it, so if it ever gets dirty, crusty, or has to go in an angle, whatever, it's not going to affect the function. It'll still work. You can see it's got a little pin holding it there that just kind of like an AK, just a loose piston there. But unlike an AK, which is a long stroke piston, this is a short stroke piston system, so it hits it and goes back. It only moves, you know, just a little bit and then goes back, and allows momentum then to cycle this. So that is the bolt carrier group and the piston system of the upper. The barrel is a US made barrel. It is not chrome lined. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Some sort of like melanite or nitride or something. But it is reasonably accurate. Not sub MOA, but between 1 and 2 so far. And this handguard can come off. Just push that pin right here through. It's a captured pin. You have to take this thing off to get, then you can take the bottom off, take the top off. There's really no reason to do that because there's nothing in there that really needs maintenance or cleaning. Yeah, so that is the upper. All right, I cleaned it up a little bit, and I just want to show you. This is all the farther that piston goes. That's why it's called a short stroke. And just moves that. Well, one doesn't follow your advice. Just moves it just a little bit to knock that bolt back. All right, onto the lower, and I've got the buffer out, and you can see it is a standard rifle buffer. Standard rifle buffer sling. Well, what I want to look for is carrier bounce, and that would be evident in some wear on the tube as the tappet hits the bolt, cause it to tilt a little and dig in down here, and you'd see some uneven wear, whatever. But again, after 200 rounds, I don't know, man, it looks pretty good. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I think that doesn't look bad to me. So maybe that rifle length buffer, having 2 points of contact on it, keeps it from tilting when it hits. Now, T91 Tactical makes a special carbine buffer that has a little like a raised area here that rides into the back of the bolt, so it can't tilt, but maybe this is enough. We'll see. What I really wanted to show you though was, hold on, trying to do it one-handed. Okay, on the Franklin trigger. Now I have a curved one of these in my Ruger. Get that to focus. There we go. And I had no problems with the installation. Worked great right out of the box. This one, however, in binary mode, would not function in binary, even with the safety selector out. When you do the first function test, no, nothing. And what was doing was this spur of the hammer here was just a hair a little too long, and it was hitting. Let me find out something to poke with. It was hitting this secondary IDF disconnector thing. So what I ended up doing was taking this completely apart, and I polished all the surfaces. You can't really tell now, but all the surfaces that rub each other, polished them. And then this, I marked where it protruded past the disconnector, and I shaved it down with a grinding wheel. Very slowly, very carefully, a little bit at a time, reinstall the trigger until it worked. So I don't recommend this unless you want to risk wrecking your trigger, but it wasn't working as it was, and it looked to me like that was a pretty reasonable approach to it. You could probably shave part of the hammer off, but this is a lot harder steel than this piece down here. So that's what I ended up doing. Shave that off, and now it works great. And I'll have some range videos I'll roll in here in a minute. So things to point out: no wear, trigger works, and that's pretty much it for my little build. I'll roll in some range video to show you how it did. Okay, so one last thing I want to say about it. These things, when I read about them online, have been, a lot of users report that you can't use steel case ammo. So I'm guessing it's something to do with how their gun is gassed. These are technically over-gassed. So that's why Wolf recommends you use a heavier H2 carbine buffer, or even sometimes an H3 carbine buffer, which is probably why I get away with using a rifle buffer, because it's kind of like right in between an H2 and an H3 as far as weight goes. But when they tune it to shoot the brass, the steel case stuff doesn't have as much oomph as properly loaded brass ammo does. And but my gun functioned fine in both semi-auto and in binary, so it shot up a couple mags of steel case just fine, no hiccups. Actually, I think it might have even run a little better. The recoil was noticeably less, and the cyclic rate on the binary was a little faster than with the brass. So take that for what it is. But on this particular gun, in this particular setup, with a rifle buffer, with a standard rifle spring, standard rifle buffer, 5.2 ounces, it ran great. So, all right. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.